Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's all right. And just 1 second. Here we go. I'm trying to get a chat room somewhere else from the big screen there. And at the same time, I'll let a little bit time for everybody to get in and participate. Hope everybody's all right. Had a long day today with a lot of stuff that I had to do. So let me go here. And we're going to try to get the correct info. And let me just go here for a second. So it's all right here. Just need to check. Here we go. Here we go. I am now open here. Like having the laptop, the small Chromebook for the chat, as it's a different angle for you guys also than from looking up, where I look at some mysterious outer space. So hey everybody, welcome aboard. Cheers to everybody. So there was no show last Saturday for those that wondered. I got a few comments, people not in the Facebook group. Sometimes it's so I usually, when there's no show, what I always do is I will actually post it both in the Facebook group and in the Twitter feed. I do have a Twitter, so if you guys want to add me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is at Shortwave Radios. So you can check that out. That's where I'm at, and just add, so you'll know. You'll have the post there, and you'll have the post on Twitter. Those that are not on Facebook or on Twitter, that's the problem. Is you can't. I'm not gonna make a YouTube video saying, "Hey, I'm not there tonight." Technically I kind of can, but it's like, why make a video about it? But there's a lot of people that wonder. It's like, well, did I miss the show, or is this something, or why is it that sometimes I'm not, I don't see this, or I don't know about it? So that's the two places where I always post when there's no show. And of course, the links to the show are always posted within the hour. So if I try to post it about an hour before, but depending on my schedule and all the stuff I have to do, I just ate some lasagna like real quick because I was like real super late for all of this. So I was actually posting the link while eating my lasagna. So sometimes when I'm very last minute, the links can be posted, and the stream can be posted on the YouTube channel, only 10 minutes before. Sometimes it happened, I think 10 or 5 minutes once, when there's a lot of stuff to do. But we are here, and that's what is important. And of course, hope that you're going to enjoy the show tonight. Now that I have the chat here, what I'm going to do, I will do one thing here. I want to remove this. here because I want to. No, I don't want to do that. Thank you for your suggestion, Windows, but that's not what I want to do. I'm going to go like this. Okay, I think this is going to be okay like that. What am I seeing here? So we're missing on D. Let's put it more like this so you guys see the on the air. There's a clock down there, the good old clock that was here a long time ago. Of course, my ham radio certificate, my YouTube awards. Slowly going to move things. Even the camera is going to be angled differently at some point. And this is going away. I'm going to have some changes soon. So trying to make it the best as fast as I can with the time that I have. So, hey, welcome everybody. This is the Shortwave Live Show. We are here twice a week. We are here on Wednesday, North America style at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or Thursday for most of the world at 0 UTC. And we are also here on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 20 hours Universal Time. We talk about radio, shortwave radio, any kind of radio. As long as it's radio, we just talk about it. We have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people that are fantastic and just so great. I think this is one of the best place ever for anybody because I mean there's just an amazing amount of really cool people here that just are here for fun, to have fun, and to help out each other, which is really nice. And when all of this is over, of course, there's the Facebook group where you can join. 2,000 or about 2,700 members at last check. And we, of course, are there doing the after hour party if you want. During the week when the show is not happening live, people are posting what they're listening to, things that they find on the internet that they like, all sorts of things. We have a couple of things to talk about, but we're going to talk about propagation today and solar activity. I had a lot of requests from the last time we had a show where somebody wanted to have some solar activity, kind of a solar activity 101 with propagation. So we'll go through that, and we'll also have different types of propagation because there's a lot of propagation that aren't related to solar activity necessarily. And sometimes it's easy to mix both and not know that what am I hearing now is not because of high solar flux or anything. It's another phenomena. So anyways, we're going to try to help you kind of understand that a little bit more and try to find little pointers of when, what is what and how to kind of make a difference between the types of propagation that you're actually having. Bobby Burgess, WA5107, Morgan City, Louisiana. Nice to have you here. Kamikaze, 1976 from Michigan. Nice to have you here. Robert Cross, Fixed 2 Radios. Pretty cool. Nice to have you on board. RJD Dakota, nice to have you on board. Man Max 2069, nice to have you here. M. Phillips, nice to have you on board. Francis Moore, nice to have you here. Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona. Jeff King, Jacksonville, Florida. John Hummel Newell, nice to have you here. And says, having a birthday drink and going to watch some shortwave radio show. Cool. Well, cheers, my friend. Happy birthday. It's a special occasion. Nothing like a radio-related birthday. That could be a lot of fun. We have Larry, N2ICZ. Nice to have you on board. Chuck, nice to have you here on 5KVO from hot South Texas. We have DJW883 from Southeast Pennsylvania. René Charbonnier, nice to have you here. From the Netherlands, we have Matt, MDK2. Nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. We have Brent, VE3GXD. Nice to have you on board. From Brockville, Ontario, Canada. Gee, so nice to have you here. Bob, WA2SQQ, nice to have you here from New Jersey. RGD Dakota is from Wentzville, Missouri, and he's WA0113 is WL. So Paul the cat is outside in the neighbor's backyard with his little girlfriend Mignon. So they're having some good. It's pretty beautiful out there. It's about what temperature is about 75, around 75 Fahrenheit. It's perfect. We've got David. Nice to have you here from Central Missouri. We have Mike WX50. Nice to have you here, Northwest Arkansas. We have Kevin Murray. Nice to have you on board. From Wyoming's newest general class ham, KK7HGD. Congratulations. Nice. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Congratulations there. Bonsoir, Christian. Nice to have you here. Christian Marcoux from North Bay, Ontario. Dave Conte from the Bronx. Nice to have you here. Jet Crafter, Southern Maine. Nice to have you on board. And $20 CC Radio 2E. That's a pretty good find, actually. It's a decent radio. I mean, for medium wave and FM, it's actually good. It does a decent job. It has a weird, you see it's DSP based because there's this weird propagation in it, but it works well. 2 meters and weather is not as sensitive. You won't have the sensitivity on it on 2 meters that you would have like with a dedicated scanner radio. But hey, for local repeaters and stuff like that, it does the job. And for weather, if you have a local NOAA weather station, perfect for that. So for $20, is actually a good deal. Gabe's Radio Channel, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? James Binder, nice to have you here. We have VT Radio, Paul, AA1SU, nice to have you here from Vermont. Had a large tree limb fall on Sunday. Missed my house, but lowered my 20-meter dipole a bit. Ouch. Better the 20-meter dipole than the house. Let's just say that. Keegan the Xer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Kevin Murray, nice to have you here. Matt, I'm going to try to work TM13COL, which is a 13 colony station. 14295 when you get to 0 stations soon. Anyone who wants to listen for me in the pileup. So if you want to try and get Matt, 14295, I'm going to tune here. Put the volume just high enough so I can hear any stations calling. I want to keep an ear out for that. W0 and DK. Man Max tried my trial run with my scanner and mini PC 5-inch screen for digital modes on VHF, UHF. It didn't go well. What else do we have? Relaxing ASMR. Lost my spot here. Just go back down. Okay. So relaxing ASMR. Nice to have you here. Michael, nice to have you on board. Francis Moore, late in Birmingham, UK. Looking forward to the broadcast. No problem, Francis. No problem. What else do we have? Jim's Radio Check. Nice to have you on board. Robert Cross, 1 o'clock in the morning. Ralph Grandin, nice to have you here from Southern New Jersey. What else do we have? Mad Max says I have a ham solar app, Space Weather Live on my phone, so I can see how the bands are behaving. And now the sun is behaving. Keegan the Exter, brief e-skip opening in Northwest Arkansas. You know what, Keegan? A friend of mine here in Montreal sent me a message yesterday because she was hearing 92.1, a station from Texas, for a few minutes yesterday morning. But by the time that I got to the radio to try, I wasn't. There was nothing left anymore. You know, these openings on FM for DXing can be very long. Sometimes it can last a full day. Sometimes it can last a few minutes and they're gone. So you got to really pick them up and check out. I'm curious, um, Keegan DXer, do you have a trick, a specific trick or website or something that you use to kind of be alert to some unusual DX? Do you leave a radio open on an empty frequency and wait for something to happen? I'm just curious if you have some pattern or a way of doing it. It would be interesting to know. Tanemis, nice to have you here. Toast and Loaf from Alabama. Brian Penny from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Lord Kitchener, nice to have you here. Brad, nice to have you here from Texas, N5LUL, WA5192 SWL. Relaxing ASMR. I have a Tixon PL990 and new to the hobby, and I'm still learning how to use a radio. I was wondering what's the difference between the 990 and 990X. The X is simply for the export version. The X is what is the one meant for export to, say, North America or Europe. The 990 is for the mainland, but they have pretty much very little difference. It's just that sometimes if you don't get an X, it can happen that your your manuals in Chinese or stuff like that. So you just got to, but if you have the English manual, it's perfect. And you have a great radio there. Just have to learn how to use it. Dwayne, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. Robert Cross, thank you for the tip. Most appreciated. Storms, Radios, and Cats, nice to have you on board from balmy hot Kentucky. Doug Smith, nice to have you here from Virginia. We have, let me catch up here. We have anything else? Catherine, nice to have you here from Nova Scotia. Pretty cool. The Winx Gamer, nice to have you here from Taiwan. Cool to have people from all over the world here. What else do we have? Matt, already blew to the zeros. They don't spend more than about 3 minutes on our group. Wow. Hey, Greg, nice to have you on board. Says watch my video from the AVI radio with the FM subcarrier audio capability. So it's kind of cool. It's a very unique thing. It's a unique radio and it's a unique thing, definitely. Matt is hearing thunder, so disconnecting antennas. Gabe's radio channel. What would be a good battery charger for Rethicus V115 BL5C battery? Well, look, there's different places you can get them. I use, where are they? I think they're here somewhere. I use these that are from CountyCom, actually. CountyCom has these. They charge BL5Cs, but they have different. You can actually move this and move the different pins. It's actually kind of a charger for multiple types of flat batteries. So you just have to position it right for the BL5C. But this is one. I had another one that I purchased actually when I went on eBay, not eBay, on Amazon. I needed BL5C batteries. And when I purchased what are the brand names? Taozi to something like that. They came with a charger anyway. So I purchased that, and that was working very well too. So honestly, I think most BL5C chargers out there just work. So now I got like about a dozen BL5C batteries here, and I got 3 or 4 chargers, which I prefer. When the battery's dead or the battery goes out, you just switch the battery and you put it in the charger, which is a lot more fun, honestly. VE2FGJ, nice to have you on board. Salut, nice to have you here. Dwayne, nice to have you here, my friend. Dave, nice to have you here. And N2DS from Corning, New York. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you, Lord Kitchener, for the tip. Much appreciated. Thank you, Mike WX50, for the tip. Much appreciated. What else do we have? What else do we have? Anything here? If I miss a name or anything, let me know. Francis thinking about getting ELAD FDM receiver. What do you reckon? Seems to have good. All I know is that people that have the money and have want to have high-end SDR receivers all go for the ELAD. They seem to be pretty amazing. But remember that for a receiver to be amazing, the antenna is extremely important, and the noise around you and so on. So there's I would say, I mean, if you want to go for it, go for it. But what I would just say is sometimes buying a high-end receiver or high-end, um, you know, um, of anything, if the conditions, the antennas aren't that great, it's kind of a waste of money because you can't get the performance out of it that you might want to have. But if you do have the possibility and have the capability, why not? They are highly rated, honestly. They are really highly rated. So I think if you buy something, an ELAD of some sort, I don't think you're going to go wrong. King and DXer uses DX maps, which shows the reports of skip on the FM band. Check FM band and wait for fade ups. Okay. DX maps. Okay. I like that. I'm going to check it out. Well, that's what I use usually to see the that's what I usually use to see sporadic e skip and stuff like that. Keegan the Xer. Occasionally, I'm first to report FM e skip that appears on the X maps. Oh, cool. Arctic Circle. Nice to have you here from northern Sweden. So I'll be checking for your handle on DX maps, Keegan. Cool. I don't know if I ever made an account on DX maps. I don't remember. If I did. DXmaps.com is a great place, by the way, for seeing the propagation and seeing the conditions of the bands and different frequencies for sporadic e skip of any kind, and just skip also because it has all the ham bands, so you can check activity. Just radio check. I never had any luck with FMDXing. You know what? There's a few things you need for the FMDXing here. First of all, you need to choose a good radio. Not all radios are good for FMDXing, especially if you are in a city like me here in Montreal. Of all the radios I have, I don't think there's a handful that are good enough to withstand the strong FM overload and give me some skip. And second of all, if you don't live in a big city and it's quieter there and you have a decent radio for FM, it's a question of timing. It's not even a question of having a fancy antenna or nothing. I was getting Orlando, Florida to Montreal on a little St. Jean portable with a telescopic. That gives you an idea that you really don't need any fancy antennas. So uh, it's really a question of being at the time when sporadic e-skip happens, and that it's strong enough to reach to the 90 or 100 megahertz range. That's it's really timing. And because these often last half an hour, 1 hour, you might have, and you probably did miss, um, you probably didn't miss tons of FMDX without really knowing. And you were listening to something else, maybe on the FM band, or, you could have tried FM like half an hour before something happened or half an hour after. It's really finicky. You have to be there at the time that it happens. And that's what makes it more of a challenge. So if you only check and turn on the radio for FMDX, like I did once in a month, you're probably missing out all the opportunities. But if you look or listen every day, if you lose, you use a website like dxmaps.com, you will start to see a pattern when it's possible, and then you're going to start trying to tune around. A radio with RDS in the display is really, really useful for that. What else do we have? Robert Cross got a Shortwave 77, ICF 2001D, Shortwave 7600. Pretty cool. Don, nice to have you here, Don. What do you think about the new Ethon satellite radio that's coming out? So apparently it's coming out in July, from what we know. July seems to be the time for the radio, the Ethon radio finally coming, which is an HD receiver. Now, I don't know yet, and it's hard to assess anything since we have nobody that tested the radio and compared it to anything else. If it's like the original, it probably does a decent job at what it wants to do. The problem is, does it do it to a point, and does it have the bells and whistles that actually warrants spending 600 or 700 US dollars for it? Because that's the price. It's 600 US dollars at Universal or something like that. 700 is the price at many other places, which probably brings it here in Canada to like $1,000. Um, I'm very honest here. Now that I'm a ham radio operator, if I have to spend 1,000 on a Ethon radio, I'll spend 400 more and go and get an ICOM ICR 7300, which is 1,450. I'll get a transceiver. I'll get a desktop decent radio. It's at a price point where it's very sensitive because you're close to the lower part or the lower bracket of any tabletop transceiver, and you're very far from, say, a Texan H501X that performs absolutely superbly on the bands. Now it adds RDS, yeah. It adds HD radio capability for North America, yeah. It has a super big display with all sorts of tags and names and stuff that you can do. But is that radio RDS HD radio, alphanumeric tags on the big, super big display, and it's a bigger radio? Is that where the difference between 300 and 600? That's where we're not really sure. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. We're gonna see the first reports at some point. Am I going to purchase one unless we do some kind of funding drive or some sort that you guys help out? I'm not going to pay the price of this radio, that's for sure. It's too expensive, and I think it's too expensive. Yeah, but Don, all the radios, the Texan radios have 6 filters, 5 or 6 filters. That radio is DSP based. I'm pretty sure it's DSP based. I'm sure they went to that point too. Took the DSP chip and designed something around it. Because or else it's the same design as the old radio. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the first reports and the people that try it. They're going to sell a few of them, that's for sure. But I have a hard time with how many they can really sell of these radios. Personally, I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go, and if it's going to be there for a long time. You know. Moises, nice to have you here from New York City. John, K6RXD, nice to have you here. Jason Francis from Ottawa, nice to have you on board. Gabe's Radio Channel, why should I do a giveaway of something? Steve, nice to have you here from Central Texas, KJ5T. J Dakota says, I've never had any luck with the FMDXing, at least not purposely. Decided to put an AA5 with FM on an outside antenna and found a station from Bermuda. Yeah, sometimes it's by accident. My Orlando DX is by accident. Totally by accident. I was tuning the 107.9. Something weird was happening. Somebody was mentioning the FM band was crazy. I started tuning around, and 96.5, I hear this salsa music, and it's Orlando, Florida on my radio. It's like, whoa, okay. Doug Smith, what's the worst shortwave radio I've ever tested? Oh, there's a lot of very bad shortwave radios out there, especially in the very low price point. Very low price point. All the ones that are like 5, 10, 15 bucks, pretty much all crap. There isn't a lot of below $20 radio that is worth even the $20. So I have my share of crappy radios, I can tell you that, and all the radios I got here. I should do just a video, and that I'm going to call the crappy radios I own. I'm sure that would attract a lot of people. What else do we have? Moises says buying a high-end receiver in New York City is useless since the crazy amounts of noise. Yeah, it depends. It depends on your location. Depends on a lot of stuff. Honestly, it depends on a lot of stuff. And of course, if you don't have good conditions, a good radio doesn't change anything to that. There are too many people that think, well, one of the main questions actually I get so often is, I've got a Texan PL330. If I get that Texan H501X, is that going to improve on the number of stations I hear? And no, it's not. It's not. It's very simple. It's not. Today's radio, that Ethon receiver will not get you more signals than radios that are, a fifth of the price, like the Texan PL330. You're going to hear the same signal on a PL330. I'm telling you. It's don't spend that amount of money thinking you're getting more stations. No, you're not. There might be added bonuses because, there could be the way the filtering is done and stuff like that. That could maybe kind of improve a little on the quality of the signal. But honestly, that's not where it happens. And that's not where the problem lies pretty much today, actually. The problem today isn't that much the radio anymore. The problem today is really, really the noise around you, and how can you escape that noise around you? And that becomes a big problem. So if you're in New York City like Moises, and you will never go really out with a radio, and especially that Ethon is probably a pretty big radio. That's not the kind of portable radio you might want to travel with everywhere. You might want to have something, much smaller that's easier to carry along. Unless you have some really cool spots to listen, there's a limit to how much money you should pay for a radio. Definitely, I agree with Moises. Like, if I hear only 25% of whatever, and because it's too noisy and my antennas aren't there, you know what? Yeah, spending $1,000 for a radio doesn't do anything. You're getting $1,000 of noise. That definitely is true. Joe, nice to have you here from Newmarket, Virginia. I'm 12 minutes behind, by the way, guys. King and the Xer says only needed an account for FM list for my FMDX eSkip Tropo reports. Tristan, nice to have you here from rainy Newfoundland. Tanemus says, speaking of antennas, wanted to build a directional antenna for ATC HF, so I used an online calculator, log periodic. The boom ended up being 5 meters long, not practical. Yeah, sometimes antennas are a little tough to build because of their size. So Arctic Circle giving us his grid square locator in Sweden. Pretty cool. Nice to have you. Hope it's not too cold. And that are you in the in the moment of the midnight sun? It's like as the sun doesn't set. Prasad, nice to have you on board from India. Oh, pretty cool to have you here, my friend. We have Thomas Kitts. Nice to have you on board. Tom and Susie. Colder in North Michigan, 60s. Patrick, nice to have you here. Tostenlof, if you have a clear channel on the FM band, then you could leave a radio on squelch to monitor for eSkip. Yeah, that's one thing. Or you leave it at very low level so that if you hear something, you can quickly go and check it out. Definitely. But even being down in the valley, RGDA Dakota for eSkip, you're okay because these signals propagate like shortwave suddenly, so it's different. Greg liked my air traffic world aeronautical video yesterday. Cool. Yeah, but like I said, Don, even though it has several filters, a Texan receiver, the Texan PL330 has what, six selectable bandwidth filters. So it doesn't mean anything today. Actually, it used to mean a lot. The filters used to mean a lot back in the 80s or the 70s, because back then the filters were all electronic. They were actually circuit boards that were built to filter out and give you a certain bandwidth. So there weren't 10 filters in most radios. You had one, and you got to purchase others, and many portables had just wide and narrow. But today, all the portables that use that DSP chip all have 4, 5, 6 filters. So that's why, if it has several filters, I'm wondering if they didn't do a new design based around the DSP, that silicon integrated DSP chip. Thank you, Francis Moore, for the tip. Much appreciated. What else do we have? So you got one on order, Don? Well, give us your impressions. It'll be interesting to see. Robert Cross, thank you for the tip. Chaz Tank, nice to have you on board from Louisville, Kentucky. Tosin Love, my little $5 radio is almost pure crap. That's pretty much what I have here. I had one from it was like, there's one of those electronics shop that's kind of sells As long as it's electronic, they sell everything, so you can get whatever there, a remote control car to a TV to a whatever. And they have tons of junk in that shop there, not far from here. I actually need to go. I haven't gone there in a long time and see what they have. And they that's where I think I bought one of them, which was like $7.99. So I got home not expecting much, and it was nice that I did not expect much. I'm not even sure it got shortwave. There's a bunch of noise, much more than anything else. Michael, is Texan one of the best brands? Well, right now, I think Texan is placing itself as being one of the top leaders in shortwave radios. Um, Ethon definitely has some good radios out there in some of their models, but what really in new radios that are manufactured still today, definitely we at Texan is kind of the leader right now. That's for sure. Um, just radio check. The Texan 600 great on AM, FM, and shortwave, but awful on sideband. Yeah, depending on the strength of some of the signals. Francis, I'm gonna go for the ELAD. We I agree are only here once. uh, PBRSTG, nice to have you here from Northern Green Mountains of Vermont. Mike WX50 body Kenwood R1000 Panasonic RF 4900 on eBay last week. I know latest technology radios might be able to beat their reception, but I love the nostalgia aspect, and they're beautiful. That's a different thing. That's what we were talking about. When I saw the Panasonic, particularly, that's the different thing. It's like it's different. It's different. Um, you're not. That's not the same reason why you buy a radio. It's not. I want to have a good radio and something new. You're in. I want to have something that is very sexy, and I like the old technology that it is, and I like the way they are designed and everything. So you're in a different aspect of what you want and what you're searching for. What I find a little sad is, they are so high priced today, to a point where it's, I find it almost difficult to understand why I should dish out a certain amount of money. But then again, that amount, look at my Panasonic RFB 300. It's rather crappy performer today when you compare, and that was like a $300 radio back in the 80s. Shows you how we've really moved along on portable radios today. But it was a little high on the price, but I wanted it. I wanted it because I had one. So that reaches what you were just saying. I like the looks. I like the old radio. I wanted to have one. I fetch more than I would probably should have fetched for it, but I did because there's a nostalgia thing to it, and a cool old radio, and I don't regret it. I'm happy. It's part of my collection now, and I know I had it. I wish I never departed from some of the radios I had in the past. Some that I had really were cool on it. I had a Panasonic RF 2200, something like that. Also, I had the Radio Shack DX302. I should have never sold these radios. I should have never sold these radios. I should have kept it. They would have been nice in my collection today, but things happen, and sometimes you get to a point where I don't mind that there are certain radios that I don't care that I sold. Like for example, when I went to my scanner radio craze, I don't really care that I sold older scanners much. Most of them, I don't care that I've sold them in order to buy a new one. There's something about scanner radios that wasn't as I don't know how to say it, as personal or something. I don't know. They all looked, pretty much the same, and some performed better than others. But there is something about me, for example, getting rid of my Pro 92 to go get a my no no my Pro, what was it, my Pro 26, sorry, to get the Pro 92 with trunk. Pro 26 was crappy anyways. One that I kind of liked more than the others, a Pro 51, I think it was, which was very nice, very good in reception. But even that, I don't regret that I sold it because I wanted to have the Pro 26. I had a Pro, 2020, Pro 2022 tabletop model, and I'm not sad of having sold it to get the Pro 2006. I don't know why these radios in particular. I don't really care that I have sold them, but I do care that all the shortwave radios that I owned, the ones that I've sold, for some reason, those is a different story. But I think it has to do with they look very different from each other, and they are older technologies. Where the scanner radios, if you had a Pro 2005, Pro 2006, or Pro 2022 or whatever, it's like, old, same stuff, you know, just kind of, the range is different, stuff like that, but same stuff. It's not like those radios, those shortwave radios for some reason. Um, Landy Quadrisky, PL loves his PL 680, PL 368, and PL 380. Cool. Great radios. Man Max 2069, definitely not going to pay 600-700 on a receiver. That's about around what you're going to pay for a ham transceiver. Yep. Yeah, 11780 probably is having some sports. What do you need to do FMDX? You need sporadic E-skip to happen. RJDA Dakota is very simple. FMDX is so easy when it happens that all you need is a decent radio, even if it's just a telescopic antenna. What you need is even better if you have a radio with RDS in the display, because it can show you the call letters of that station. And then you need to know when sporadic E-skip happens, and that's where DX Maps is very, very nice. DXmaps.com is going to give you the when there's openings. So there you're going to go and you can go and check the maps and check out for the VHF E-skip happening. So you'll see the openings when they happen. And if you see openings in the area where you live, then go and check out the FM band, because it might be very interesting. You know what, RJD Dakota? I don't know how many stations on FM you have around you, but the D808, because it has RDS on it, that's the first one I would go to and try. I would try with a D808, because what's going to happen is it's going to give you in the display, it makes DXing FM actually a lot faster, because very often when the stations come strong enough, the RDS is going to show you the call letters. So that would be my first choice if it works well on FM. And I've never tested the FM band much on the D808 to see how good it is. That would be interesting to see. If it's scrappy on FM because it overloads or things like that, maybe the PL330 or 880 would be a good choice then. But it doesn't have RDS, so you'll have to listen for station IDs. Zen Pharaohs, one of the best things about SDR is that they offer a huge expansion and possibility of filtering. I had to learn to write a plugin. I have 30 years of DSP filter designs lying around my computers. Yeah, SDRs are another thing. I mean, it's now you're using the power of a computer to virtually do what you want. SDRs are almost limitless, because SDRs are programmable in every way possible, and that's what makes them amazing. That you can do what you want. You can, there's no more. You're not stuck with specific filtering. You can now filter how you want, and you can put the bandwidth you want, and you can. There's no more. I need this filter, or that filter, or this thing, or that thing. It's here's that plugin, or here's this feature in the software that lets you do all. So that's also another thing about buying radios today. If using a computer to use radio is not a problem, SDRs open up such a huge possibility. James Binder, a reasonably priced radio with a screen that shows the waterfall. In a word, reasonably priced, not much, because you have to go to, say, the Malahit or the Chinese DSP receivers, and they're kind of expensive, for what they are. But they do have a waterfall and screen and everything. One thing that I would say is, if you get yourself a RTL SDR V3 and a cheap tablet, you probably have a good SDR anyways that you could use portable pretty much. That would be one. Arctic Circle says, yep, sun 24/7, and it's very hot, 32 degrees. Wow, 90 Fahrenheit. Man, that must be exceptional. They were saying, I don't know if it's impacting you guys too, but they were saying that the weather patterns are all weird here. For example, here in Quebec, we've been having lower than average temperatures, while most of the US and a big chunk of Canada is going like crazy hot. But they were saying that up north in the Arctic, the temperatures were really, really warm in Canada. And so they were giving an example the other day. I think it's like yesterday or the day before. It was like 10 degrees Celsius warmer in Iqaluit than it was here and down in Montreal. So it's like, whoa, okay, that's weird. But no, I must that 90 Fahrenheit must be a pretty hot temperature for you guys there. St. Pharaoh's, Jill's quite right about a PL330. Other than audio candy, it is really hard to beat if someone is looking for a polar roll radio. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. The PL330 is like the clear winner right now. Anybody that wants one radio and doesn't need necessarily the airband and doesn't need RDS, because that's what's missing on the Texan radios. With that PL330 at RDS in the display, wow, killer radio suddenly. Pretty amazing. Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Just finished a bunch of yard work. Nice to have you here. What's happening to your ham license and the ham course, Canadian radio TV guy? John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Still enjoying his DJI DE28 for $20. Very sensitive shortwave receiver with MP3 playback. What else do we have? Let me just go down here, try to catch up. Gabriel, nice to have you on board with his Moo expedition. And nice to have you here from Uruguay. Sad to see that you're having a lot of rain, though. It's a little sad, but I'm sure even with the rain, because I remember when I went up north for to just get out of town and just enjoy some really nice open spaces. Even if it would rain, it wouldn't change. My friends sometimes say, well, you spend a weekend at up north. It was raining all weekend. It must be boring. It's like, nope, it was great. I remember even told once someone, I said, I find it actually more interesting to be there with the rain than be in Montreal with the rain. So, you know. Dustin Love's got a Pro 2052 scanner. RG Dakota sends the audio of his portables through a Altec Lansing Bluetooth speaker to enhance. Absolutely. Canadian Radio TV guy, been hearing a lot of hair comms on HF recently. 11282, 279, 8843, 5616. Yeah, lots of stuff happening here. We're going crazy nuts with the airport. There's like tons of problems. I mean, it's air traffic in Canada, and I think in the many countries it's like weird right now. Greg liked my video on the XH Data D38. Zenfaros are already our quality portable SDR, but it's not cheap. I have not figured how to actually buy one. Jim's radar check. Oh yeah, definitely. A rainy day in Montreal is better than a sunny day at work. That definitely is. Canadian TV guys, since the REC basic course ended in April, I was really busy with my last year of school. I'm getting to try to get my license this summer. When can I find an examiner? You can go on REC of Canada and see them, but I'm going to give you. Send me an email, Canadian Radio TV guy. Send me an email, official shortwave radio at gmail.com. I'll send you the email of the examiner that I had. He's located in New Brunswick. He's a super cool, super fine guy. And you're going to be doing that via Zoom. So he's going to set up a virtual Zoom meeting with you. You just have to ask him, and he's going to tell you when he can, and you just have to pass your exam with him. The way it works, so you go through your Zoom. He's going to ask you to show around to make sure you're not cheating, and he's going to then have you send you the slides with questions. And every time you have a question done, you just answer, next. And he's going to give you the next questions. And you're going to go through the 100 questions like that. When it's over, what he's going to do, he's going to ask you to send a picture or a scan of your exam. So what that sheet that you actually filled up, it could be a good picture with your phone, anything, but you'll need to have that. If you have a scanner, it's even better. And he's going to actually go through each question with you, tell you the ones you got and you didn't get. He's going to give you your score immediately after the test is done. And if you pass, he's going to go, and 5 minutes later, he's going to be already on the website of the ISCD to fill out all the information for your license. I passed my test. I think half an hour later, everything was done, and I had my license. And it took 3 or 4 days, and I got the certificate in the mail. So just write to me, official shortwave radio at Gmail. I'm going to give you his email. Tell him that I referred you. And then all you have to do is arrange a time for a Zoom meeting for the exam. And good luck. Try to get more than 80% so you have your HF privileges. So, John Beckham, that old blue loading XH Data D, what that you had on video was rather interesting. You mean the red with the red LED? That was strange. Switching bands and seeing load on the display. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. Okay, I'm down the chat. I'm going to stop for a second here so I know that I'm here. We're going to talk a little bit about the sun, do a quick rundown of propagation in the sun. There's a lot of things happening. The sun is, of course, in a higher and higher phase of solar activity. There's ups and downs, which is normal. One of the questions I had this week is what gives the sun's solar flux is below 100 now. It was 160 a couple of months ago. It's normal. A solar cycle is not always going up in the same speed. It's an up and down thing. It's the average that actually makes the solar cycle, but it's going to continue to increase. Um, the the um, the thing about the solar cycle is that the higher solar flux usually will help in higher frequencies. So if you have noticed that, for example, Spain is always very good compared to last year on 17855, or if you've noticed that you hear 16 meter, 19 meter band stations you never heard before, just look at how good Radio New Zealand is this summer on 15720, when last year it would not have worked. That's why they had 13840 actually. And that what happens there is that the higher solar flux definitely helps because it makes the ionosphere more dense and it helps in the high frequencies, including the um, including um, the higher frequencies up to 10 meters and even higher than 10 meters sometimes. So basically, this is kind of interesting to see that the higher frequencies are propagating. Sorry, I got distracted. Um, so there's an increase in higher activity and higher frequencies. There's also a somewhat increase in what nighttime frequencies you'll hear because part of that dense ionosphere stays there a little more, and that denseness kind of helps even nighttime propagation. So lately, propagation has been very, very, very good on the higher frequencies, and it's been really, really nice to check that out. Solar activity also depends on another factor, and it's the seasons. And depending on where you live, the more you're close to the poles, like for example, our friend in Sweden knows that winter and summer is a huge difference in its propagation conditions, more than here in Montreal because we're in mid latitude. And if at the equator, there's less of a difference in the seasons in general, but there will be a general pattern of where you'll hear stations from different regions. That's definitely a thing that has to do with seasons also. Technically, the higher solar flux, the better the propagation, and we're going to put it at as simple as that. Um, it's much more complex than that to explain, solar activity and propagation. Technically, very often, what I've noticed is if solar flux is above 100, usually you get propagation in the 10-meter band that pretty much is open. But just think of solar flux, the higher, the better for propagation conditions, and try higher frequencies at the same time. So that's why we prefer higher solar activity. But it comes with a negative side, and higher solar activity means more risks of having solar flares from big, huge sunspots and geomagnetic storming. And so that is all the downside of all of it. More of these storms, possibly. There are other propagation methods also that you got to be careful not to mix in with higher solar activity. Example, when the sun sets, the higher frequencies tend to stop propagating. So, for example, if the sun sets, 2 hours later, you shouldn't be hearing 10-meter band. 2 hours later, you probably won't hear any signals, or 3 hours later, in the darkness, you won't hear signals above 20 megahertz propagating in general. In general, there's exceptions to the rule, and the exceptions to the rule are that sometimes, depending on where the signal comes from and the bounce. An example of that, somebody couldn't understand that at midnight Eastern, where the sun has been set for more than 3 hours, how come we are hearing Radio New Zealand on such a high frequency, 15720? It's very simple. It's because the majority of the way from New Zealand to Montreal is still in sunlight. So 15720 will bounce on the ionosphere, and from New Zealand, it probably bounces more than once. The last bounce is still in daylight. It's still where the ionosphere is in sunlight. So that's what we're hearing. And that's why we're still getting it at midnight. But if you would hear and listen to it until 1 or 2 a.m. on that frequency, as the darkness creeps more and more to the west, you'll notice that the signal is going to fade slowly away, as now 19-meter band won't propagate in the middle of the night. So there are phenomena like that. But say it's midnight and you've got a 10-meter station from Texas coming through and really loud. And you might be thinking, oh, well, we've got high solar activity with now with the new solar cycle. No, at midnight, that's not going to be the reason. At midnight, you're going to be in a different propagation condition. You're going to be at something called sporadic E-skip. We were talking about FMDX earlier. FMDX happens with that phenomena. Sporadic E-skip is very dense ionized patches of ionosphere that form. And they could be small, they could be huge, depending on, all sorts of factors. We're not 100% sure how these and why these exist and why and how they actually form. But there's a general pattern to look at. When there's huge fronts with cold and warm weather and lots of thunderstorms in the front, you'll often notice that along that weather pattern, there's often a lot of sporadic E-skip happening. So some of it might be due to the effects of thunderstorms. If you guys have seen and follow a little bit of science on weather and all of that, you might have seen that there's something called sprites that leave the top of thunderstorms. So as much as there's the lightning going down and hitting the ground, there's also, at the same time that the lightning strike happens over the thunderstorms, there's a phenomenon called sprites. And so some people have actually photographed sprites leaving. They've even seen sprites leaving from the International Space Station when there's really strong thunderstorms. And these sprites, it's, energy from these thunderstorms. And there's some science behind it that they think the sprites that leave and go up, shoot up, might actually have an interaction with the ionosphere. And there's a lot of other things that are thought of maybe helping out. Micrometeorids, like very very small stones hitting the atmosphere and stuff like that. Sporadic E-skip happens mostly and not exclusively, and that's very important, because don't just say, well, now's the time and it won't happen again after next week. We know that the more intense season for sporadic E-skip is now, from a couple of weeks before to a couple of weeks after the June solstice in the northern hemisphere. There's another patch, but less intense, that are from the winter solstice around December. But that said, it's not a thing that only happens then. It's just that we see it more frequently at this time of year. That's why you might kind of remember that most of your FM DX or most of your TVDX when you were young, you seem to remember maybe it was in the summertime, because probably you noticed it more because there's more frequent E-skip at this time. The sporadic E-skip can happen at any time. I've heard sporadic E-skip in October and November. It doesn't stop at a specific time. It never do stop. But since it's often weather driven with big storms and thunderstorms, and there's some fairness and maybe thinking that since in the summer when it's really hot, there's a tendency to be a lot more thunderstorms around us. Maybe that's the reason why there's more sporadic E-skip. There could be a reason behind it. Sporadic E-skip is so intense that it can propagate signals at very high frequencies. Typically, high solar activity will give you propagation up to possibly 30 megahertz. You'll probably have 30 megahertz capability. When solar activity is extremely high, say when we're going to be at the peak of the solar cycle, just with solar activity in the daytime, it happens that 6 meters can actually be open from the very high solar activity. But most of the time, the solar activity isn't high enough to reach those frequencies. Most of the time, if you got 6 meter DX, most often it's sporadic E-skip happening somewhere. dxmaps.com that I posted earlier is an interesting site because you can pinpoint your location, pinpoint your continent, whatever, and check if there's propagation in very high frequencies. And if there is, look at the location. Does it reach where you live? So if you look at the 6 meter map, 50 megahertz, do you have these red lines showing that people are talking and actually there's contacts being made around you where you live? Go tune 6 meters, 50 megahertz. But go tune higher. It might actually reach higher frequencies. Sporadic E-skip can technically reach, in the very intense patches, 100 megahertz. Most of the sporadic E-skip will be happening in the lower band of FM most of the time, because it'll reach around 90, 91, 92 megahertz, then fade out. So you'll notice that most of your FMDX is often in the bottom 90 megahertz. But it can be much higher because it can really reach very high frequencies when it's the most of intense possible. Other things also that can happen is another type of phenomenon, the VHF UHF range, and that's a different type of propagation, tropospheric ducting. You might have heard sometimes someone calls, there must be some temperature inversions and stuff. It's at certain frequencies on the VHF and UHF also, but to a less extent on the UHF one. On the UHF range, you'll have that tropospheric ducting, where a signal is actually trapped in a layer of the atmosphere between cold and hot layers of the atmosphere. And what that does is it can actually bend the signal. It can actually make a line of sight signal bend the curvature of the earth slightly and give you 200, 300, 400 kilometer distance reception for a certain amount of time. So there's a lot of little things like that can happen. So there's all sorts of different phenomena for the different frequencies you want to listen to that can happen. Okay, let's go back to the chat here. So it's a quick explanation, but I hope that it's actually helping out. What else we have? Arctic Circle, have an ELAD FDM S2, love it. Also have our Speed 2 Duo. Do not like them. Overloads and too many birds and fake stations. When I use my Marconi T30 by 15 meters and my 100 meter beverage. The problem with the RSP devices mostly are in the lower bands, where there's a lot of images from the medium wave bands that can actually creep up uh, to the um, to the lower part of the bands. Jim from Rhode Island. What else do we have? Sean Bacon, what's my opinion of the Reticus V111? I believe it receives shortwave better because having a digital LCD display LCD, it is quieter than the V115 with the Docs Matrix LCD. There's not much I can say actually about it. Let me check something here. Yeah, because I've never really tried the V111. Could it be quieter? It's possible, but it's one of those cheap radios. Um, so I don't know. Could it be better? Maybe, maybe not. Uncle Justin, nice to have you here. KB2RMC, Western New York State. Jill, you spriteful young man. I like that. What do we have here? What else do we have here? Canadian TV guy, can you just be careful what you're doing? I don't know if you're clicking on something by accident. You're blocking VT radios and posts. What else do we have here? Thomas gets, I'm in the up of Michigan and noticed that ESKIP is best on the really hot and humid days at this time of year. This year, there have been many good FMDX lately. Yeah, it often happens that we kind of notice. I remember when I did a lot of the FMDXing, not FMDXing, sorry, TVDXing in the analog days of TV. Um, hot, often hot, humid days that mix in with sudden, front going through and cooler weather. You kind of have a pattern there, and it's and if you look at the weather patterns when fronts go through, and notice the weather patterns, and look at a weather map, for example, or a satellite where you see the clear lines of a front going through. You often notice that the sporadic E-skip and the stations you hear are kind of along that front up to a certain distance. But sporadic E-skip can be of very, very far distances sometimes. You can have several patches that will actually have the signal bounce more than once. That's probably what happened when what is it, 5 or 6 years ago? I was I was 50 megahertz listening to some FT8 and heard a station in Brazil in winter. And that must have been several patches of sporadic E-skip that just the signal bounced from up to Brazil, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Hey, Greg. See you on Saturday, my friend. So, there's a lot of stuff like that happening. And when that opens up, it's magical. You should have seen me when I got that Orlando station back in on Monday of last week. Boy, I was jumping up and down. I was going crazy. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's hurricane season that is in effect right now, and we're still at the beginning of hurricane season, by the way. If you are a member of the Canadian International DX Club, look at my column. My column has a full list of frequencies of all sorts of things to check out. the frequencies of different organizations, and from FEMA, from amateur radio nets and emergency nets of all sorts. Some frequencies are old and probably not active, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in there to look at. And don't forget that there's going to be a activation of a net, the Hurricane Watch Net. If you the Hurricane Watch Net, I'm just gonna do something, guys. It won't be long. There we go. So the Hurricane Watch Net, which is very important and very nice to have news of what's happening, that activates when a hurricane will be pretty much close or on land. 7268 and 14325 kilohertz upper sandband. So it's nice to check that out when it happens. And of course, there's all sorts of things you can follow the track of the hurricanes in the ocean by going to the weather, there were HF weather facts broadcasts, and checking out the satellite pictures and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in there to check out. So pretty cool. What else do we have here? Let me just check it out. What else do we see? Let me see. Nothing much. Okay. People banning, unbanning, and yeah, it happens when the phone. If you guys have you follow with the chat on the smartphone, be careful, because if you place a phone somewhere or you place it in your pocket, sometimes the touch screen can be activated with something. Dave Conti says, is long range TV reception even possible with digital TV signals? Just curious. Yes, absolutely. Actually, the Rich McVicker, that was one of the guys that you might have heard on HCJB in the past, is one of those TVDXers, and he actually has done a lot of digital TVDXing. So one of the advantages of that, and a little bit like the RDS functionality, if you want, is that sometimes when the signal's strong enough, you might actually have on your screen a ID, the call letters of whatever station you're receiving. But definitely, there is a possibility. There is a possibility that you can receive HDTV via sporadic key skip. It can happen. I've seen quite a few pictures of it too. So it's, we don't see a lot of it going through, though. I don't know if it's because people have, with HDTV, I don't know if it's because people have moved on and moved on to cable and everything. We don't see as much, but there's definitely a possibility of doing some HD TV DXing. Absolutely. It's just that, the difference is that you'll need to have a good signal, because one of the problems with TV DXing with an HD TV is that, like digital, DAB, signal needs to be a certain strength for your TV to be able to actually show you an image or show you information. And that is something that is more tricky. In the days of analog, even when the signal was weak, sometimes you had just enough of an image to be able to, get whatever station it was. But today it's a little more complex. Guys, I'm just going to take a break for a second because it doesn't happen often during a show, but nature is calling. If you get the drift. So I'm going to put the volume here, 14295, which seems to be a colony station. And back in a couple of minutes, guys. Here's the... Okay. Let's go back here. Oh, man. Okay, so yeah, that definitely is true. Like David says, harder to get TVs kept now because there's fewer low band VHF stations with the HD. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and actually, it's more red because it has the cranberry juice that I have that I usually use. This one is they didn't have it, so I used the cranberry raspberry one, which is actually redder. So change the color. Magazine, no, that day is over, Uncle Justin. Today we take our phones. Christian Matku just came back from the bathroom. Pizza delivery downstairs. What else do we have? Paul is outside somewhere. He still stayed outside. Oh man. Michael Justin. Arctic Circle 11815 Radio Brazil Central S9 and S0 in noise. Wow. That's not what I got here in noise, I can tell you that. Toslo, there's a high power TV station here in North Alabama on channel 2. And you want to have beyond 100 miles or so, could use it. I'm way too close. Though at 30 miles, there are just a few low band VHF channels. Stephen, nice to have you on board. M0GUP. To have you on board. Keegan DXer having some Texas tea brand potted strawberry white tea. That sounds good, actually. So, Rich, Atlanta, Georgia, nice to have you here. I believe I'm receiving RWM 9996. Are you able to receive it? Let's try all frequencies, actually. Let's try 14.996 CW. .996. Oh yeah, it's definitely there. It's a constant tone right now. It's very weak on 14.996, but it's there on 9996. So right now it's a constant tone. And 4996. Getting it on 4996 also. But the strongest is 9996. So if you guys tune CW 9996, you'll hear a constant tone right now. That's RWM time signal in Moscow, Russia. If you don't have CW, you can tune 9997 lower sideband or 9995 and play with the BFO, and you'll hear a tone. And in a few minutes, it's going to actually change to other patterns. So, yep, I'm hearing it. It's a constant tone right now. Actually hitting S9 plus 10 here. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So, and they're at what? 4 kilowatts. I think only 4 kilowatts on that frequency. So that's 4,000 watts, making a pretty good distance. But then again, anything CW and Morse code can break through the noise. So if you guys want to try it, 14996, 9996, or 4996, and try for the RWM Moscow Russia time signal coming in on 9996 actually here right now as a constant tone. Let me check out the pattern. I want to say hello to, forgot to check the email. Hello to Richard Limke. Nice to have you on board, Richard, tonight. Hope you're still watching and that everything is all right where you are. You see a lot of rain, 143.8 millimeters for June. That's a lot of rain for you guys. We had quite a lot of rain too here. We've been drenched a lot lately with rain. So nice to have you here, my friend, by the way. And here we go. So, okay, interesting. That little mini PC scanner, mini PC screen mention. Okay, interesting. I'm gonna check that out. And did you send your email, like Canadian Radio TV guy? I don't have it here, but so I'll send you back the. So I can send you back the coordinates of the RAC examiner for ham license. So what else do we have? Tanemus is picking up 9996 for once. Matt says at 0138 it'll go silent. And then RWM in Morse code for 55 seconds at 0139. And then it will be followed by minute tone and 1 second pips at 0140. So if you lose it, it's normal. I'll put the volume higher here. So I'm hearing the tone, continuous tone. Unknown picked up CHU on 14670 during daytime in Colorado, which was a first for me. Cool. That's a good one. Could see the propagation effect of the signal going lower and higher. So we're about to lose the RWM for a minute. Here we go. So we just lost it for a minute. And in exactly a minute at 0139, we'll have RWM sent in Morse code letters. So, Michael, Big Six dry red wine. Cheers. Cool. Cheers, my friend. Hunter, nice to have you on board from Ottawa. Ron, nice to have you here, Ron, from south of Montreal. Radio, you're missing radio, Canadian Radio TV guys. Official shortwave radio. I'll put it again here. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. The word radio is missing. There we go. Now we have the Morse code ID for RWM. And we are listening to the RWM time station, Canadian Radio TV guy, on either 14996 or 9996 or 4996. Right now, IDing as RWM in Morse code. That comes from Moscow, Russia. Matt has a good RWM signal on 14996 and a better on 9996. Hunter, have you given any thought to the new Ethon Satellite HD that is now in pre-order? I find it too expensive for what it is. I don't plan on buying that. I don't think so. We're going to see, but I don't think so. And now time pips have started. So now it's time pips that are being sent out. You know, the story of me receiving RWM for the first time ever in my life was I was listening to WWV, and as I was listening, there was some weird interference. I could hear something was there kind of in the bandwidth, but wasn't with WWV. And I tuned away and I heard those time pips. on 9996, but I didn't know back then what they were. I was like, what's that? And I was so surprised to hear that it was RWM actually. So it's kind of funny. They do QSL if you want to have a QSL. Greg says IDX medium wave band. I heard Voice of America last year at night. Okay, cool. Probably heard some medium wave outlet from somewhere. That's possible. So yeah, that Ethon. I don't know. I'm a little. I'm wondering how many people are actually gonna really pay that. Honestly, I'm kind of curious of how many people would actually pay for a radio like that today in 2022. We're not in the. There would have been a time maybe where that could have happened, but today, a hard time. So RWM time signal. Let's see here. I'm going to check out if there's some pirates or anything. Anybody heard a lot of pirates for the 4th of July weekend? I believe Sunday night there was a lot of them. I've seen a lot of posts. Michael Andrew, nice to have you here. Nice that you've reached as we are live. So 6880 upper sideband apparently. Let's go check that out here. 6880. Yep, it is definitely there and very strong too. Wow. S9 plus 20, 30 at times. 6880 upper sideband. There is a pirate. And anything else there on the bands that I could see? I don't see anything else. Man, it's really, really strong. I don't see any other traces there. There's apparently something on 6933, but I don't see it here. But that one is definitely strong. Definitely strong. 6880 kilohertz upper sideband. For a pirate radio, Jeff King says it's too expensive. If I would get an expensive radio, I'd go into the Texan H501X. Yeah. It does a few things more. It does have HD radio capability. Unfortunately, HD radio in North America is kind of fading out a little. It has RDS, definitely. Kind of a nice display, but I don't know. It has airband apparently. So I don't know. It's a little. I find it expensive. Find it expensive. Yeah, Richard Wagner. It's unfortunate what happened. It's really sad. As I was saying, it's sad that the world will remember this year's 4th of July with a shooting. Yeah, Texan 501 is a great radio. Keegan DXer, I think Ethon should design a radio similar to the Grundig Eaton Field BT satellite executive and elite executive, but with HD. Yeah. Yeah, HDR 13. A great radio. Larry and 2ICZ, do most buyers build their own rigs or modify ham equipment? Most of them have ham equipments. For the most part, they use modified ham radio transceivers that can, they unlock it to be able to just broadcast anywhere. There are some that experiment. I know a few that are very, very good at experimenting and do their own stuff. One in particular that I've been um, talking with for a while, many years ago. He had opened his closet and I would see all the equipment there and the built he had built his own power amplifier and stuff like that. But the majority of pirates are using simply modified ham transceivers. And the powerful ones like that will probably using, a big kilowatt amplifier or something. Some are surprising in how they still carry with low power. There's a couple of ones. There's a um, Captain Morgan pirate that I heard a few times. Apparently, that guy is like running just 25 watts, and he's heard. I receive him here. It's like, wow, okay, not very strong, but he's there. But most of them is really, really modified ham transceivers. Sorry, guys. Michael Langer. That shows you how tired I am of all the things happening in the last week. Michael Langer says hitting Central Illinois 6880. Arctic Circle in Sweden is getting S4 for the S6880. Pretty amazing. Going all the way to Sweden. John Beckham is hearing Spain 17855, coming in nicely. To name is. Michael Langer, long ways. Yeah, most 2000K. PRSTG also gets 17855. Good. So yeah, most of the pirates in general, what they'll have a ham transceiver that's modified. They'll have some power amplifier with it for a kilowatt or two. One that is extremely powerful is Wolverine. It's just crazy how Wolverine gets out there. He's often heard like across North America when he's there. Some are really, really well set up. There's also a lot of speculations on some pirates. I think there is, in some cases, a couple of pirate transmitters that relay a lot of other pirates. So sometimes in some nights with a signal similar, you'll hear three or four pirates. I think there are pirates that even probably might not even have their equipment. They're sending in, a recording, an MP3 or whatever, and having it played over a official pirate guy that has his own station. There's a lot of that happening in the pirate world also. RJ Dakota 6880 USB coming in there nicely. Arctic Circle S6931 S4. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for here on my waterfall, but 6930, there's nothing there, not even a peep of a signal. So definitely not making it here, at least. Dr. Sisup, nice to have you here. WWV SEHU check time. Let's see. Let's try 25. Nothing on 25. Let's try 20. Nothing on 20. 15 is making it. $10 is making it. I'm going to try back something here. Can somebody monitor WWV 15 megahertz and tell me if you hear anything else than just WWV? Because I want to know if it's my SDR or my setup or there's something. And I think it's my setup. Yeah, it's my setup. Because there's something weird there. Then you have 5,000. Not very strong, but there on 5,000. 2.5, I don't expect to hear that one right now. Nothing on 2.5. As for CHU, 3,330. Very strong here. Very strong, 3330 here. 7850. Hearing it on 7850 doesn't happen often. Wow. 7850 coming in also. 14670. Nothing there. So 7850. Don't hear that one often. Okay, what else do we have? Yeah, 9996. You're hearing RWM time signal out of Moscow, Russia. Canadian Radio TV guy. Jim's radio check says he hears a high-pitched tone. So you're getting a high-pitched tone? Because I'm getting a high-pitched tone on 15. I'm getting some kind of other tone on 15. I don't know why. So, okay, I'm not alone. Thank you for confirming that it doesn't have anything to do with my setup. This sounds weird. I'm going to try it on the... Yeah, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it on the Texan H501X also. It's kind of interesting. There's something on that frequency that I hear utter. Kind of interesting. Matt, MDK2, WWVH decent, and WWV barely on 15. Tussin Loaf is nothing on 15. Larry has just 15, WWV. RJ Dakota, WWV on 25. I believe Brazil is not on 15. They're on 10. The Brazilian time station. Just check here, but I believe it's on 10. Yeah, PPE. I believe it's on, let me check it out here. PPE. Visitorio Nacional. Just checking it out here, but I don't think... Do they have more than one frequency? PPE. So... Yep, 10 megahertz is the only frequency they're using. There is a on 15. There is the China time station BPM is on 15. Apart from China, apart from China, WWV and WWVH, I don't know of any others on 15 by heart, anyways. Arctic Circle on 10's got Italy and USA, yeah, because there's the Italian one on 10, which plays music. Sometimes people are wondering on the music and the 10 megahertz, and it's because the Italian time station on 10 megahertz plays music. Bob WA2 SQQ 6-meter band was wide open today to most of Europe. Wow, pretty cool. Yeah, on 15, the sweeping tones are normal at 8 minutes, and for WWVH at 48 minutes, something like that. These are tests, but kind of weird. What else do we have? Okay, then you're confirming Canadian Radio TV guy on 15 megahertz. So you're listening to the VE6JY SDR. High pitched noise. It almost sounds sporadic, like it's repeated beeping. It sounds like that, eh? It's like not a standard beep. It's a kind of a repeating beep. Like beep, 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 beep. I'm going to compare it. I'm going to check it out here. Because I'm hearing a beep. I'm just going to go to the V6JY one. That is weird. Never heard that. I was actually thinking that it was something local, maybe due to my SDR or computer or something. But now, I'm going to go listen to it to the Alberta one.
Relay, go ahead.
Actually, I'm not hearing it there. I am hearing the beep beep from the BPM China. I'm hearing the beep beep from BPM China on that one. There's like a beep beep, which I believe is BPM China. Kind of interesting. I don't know. Kind of weird. I'm not sure anymore. Take care, VT Radio. Always nice to have you here, Paul. Something weird. That's for sure. Brazil on 10 megahertz is AM. I hear it from time to time under WWV up here. Doesn't happen often, but mostly in the winter. In the winter, I'll have it on 10 megahertz. John Beckham has Radio Marti on 7335. So this is kind of interesting. Interesting. Apart from that, WTWW is really strong on 9940. .130. Wow. You guys that actually operate in the 30-meter band of amateur radio must be mad as hell right now. This is crazy. So the 30-meter band of amateur radio. So 30 meters, 30-meter band. So 30-meter band goes from 10-100 to 10-150. And from about 10-115 to 10-135, there's a radar signal. Totally crazy. Users of the 30-meter amateur band must be going nuts. Look at that, guys. Look at that wide band. This covers a big chunk of the 30-meter band right now. This is crazy. This is crazy. I believe that is a Russian container. No, it's not a jammer. It's a radar. I think it's a Russian container radar. I believe that sound is a Russian container radar. They're really not jamming. They're just smack into it. Can you read a TV guy? Swear, I was hearing a little bit of beep on 5 megahertz. Oh, you guys have to be general class and above to get 30 meters. Mark Cope, 30-meter band looks the same in Dallas. Pretty crazy. You know what's there? Every time I see something like that, I'm always like, the band is so wide. The shortwave spectrum is so big. I mean, that is one of the work bands. It's 150 kilohertz long. And they're taking a big chunk of it for their darn radar. It's pretty crazy, you know? Christian Marcoux, I got to go. Big night tomorrow. Most favorite night as it's NHL entry draft and it's in Montreal. So cool. Take care, my friend. Stay safe. See you maybe Saturday. No, it's not I hate it. I just don't care for it. It's different. I do not hate it. I just don't care for it. That's all. So yeah, kind of weird, you know, for such a small band and it's jammed. You know, when was it? It was like I didn't have time to make a video because it left the band. You know, sometimes we talk about the clash of a signal from people that just don't care. We know that the U.S. Navy is good for that, going on a frequency, and I just don't care. And that was one actually WWCR in their Ask WWCR show. Actually, um, it's you know, the U.S. Navy's RTTY signal was on 6115 or 6117. But I heard this radar 3 or 4 months ago, and by the time that I set up to make a video, it was gone. Smack in the 8 megahertz aeronautical band. And I mean, I get it that you want to have an HF radar. I get it that you want to broadcast somewhere to get that radar working. But isn't that kind of stupid that you'll do it in the aeronautical band? even maybe kind of dangerous up to a certain extent. Oh man, that was crazy. I can tell you that. Matt says outside of the broadcast band, there's very little jamming on HF. What you hear outside of the band broadcast band is some encrypted military mode or over the horizon radars 9 times out of 10. Yeah, pretty much. Jamming is done on very specific frequencies. Very specific frequencies. And usually for a broadcast that they don't want to go through. They're not going to jam whatever, you know. There's no, in general, there's no sense in jamming ham radio except for a couple of. There was an example about like some of the frequencies for Cuba a few months ago. Well, last year when the Cuban uprising happened, um, there was a little bit of jamming in the 40-meter band that was discovered that might have come from Cuba, but it's very difficult to assess that it actually comes from a country also. With shortwave being shortwave, you could jam something on shortwave, and everybody's going to jump to the conclusion that it must have been that that country, but it could be somebody else. Look at the jamming of some of the signals that happened in with the Ukraine Russia war. There was a lot of signals that, oh well, Ukraine is jamming that, and there was a lot of, yeah, well, maybe the maybe Russia is jamming that also. And it's kind of, and with all the people out there having transmitters and transceivers that are open to broadcast anywhere, I mean, people are just in their backyards and it's like, hey, let's have fun. I'm going to jam this signal today. So it's difficult. There's usually a pattern and a way of jamming that kind of pinpoints to something. Like the Cuban jamming is easy to identify. The way that the tones and the way that they jam it, when you hear it, even on a frequency where there's nothing, you immediately just listen to it and it's like, oh, that's a Cuban jammer that's not turned off. Um, so I don't know. There's a lot of we have to not forget that there's a lot of other people might be jamming for some reason or for fun, basically. Canadian Radio TV guy, has anyone heard Voice of the Report of the Week on his new frequency of 9670 yet? I've yet to try listen. Yeah, is that's coming out of channel 292, right? I haven't tried it. I haven't heard him on the bands in a long time, actually. I stumbled across his video, his Food Critics video, from time to time. But by the way, around 30, Dr. Sisab is carrying on 3300. There's our friend in Uruguay heard it, and I have seen a few reports of 3310 station that has been reported into even North America in the late evening, which is Bolivia, I believe. Radio Chasquis, Bolivia, something like that. Let me just check it out here. I think it's in the schedules. EIBS space schedules have been updated today, by the way, July 6th. If you want to have the latest schedules, 3310. Radio Mosor Chasqui from Bolivia. And they are from 0855 to 013 and 2030 to 02. So they just ended, actually. There were a little bit of reports of people hearing it. So if you hear something in Spanish or Quechua, that could be it. It's been reported a little bit. What else do we have? Yeah, at 8 minutes, then Pharaoh's that those weird tones are a test. Actually, they are doing a test with radio listeners for the ionosphere study. So those sweeps using a software and an SDR, they're kind of doing some kind of science experiment with it. So that's what you hear at 8 minutes on WWV now. John Beckham. Oh no, shutting out. Francis Morris, see you. Crazy World, take care. Interesting program. Thanks for the info. Thank you very much for being here. All the best. Stay safe. So, hey, I enjoyed doing the show today. I'm, as you see, a little tired today. So I'm going to cut it a little shorter. Been 2 hours and 10 minutes. We're going to be back Saturday at 20 hours UTC. And of course, I hope that my energy level is going to be back to normal. It's funny because part of it seems to be somewhat of, even though I test negative and everything, somewhat of leftover of COVID, as if my energy level when it came back didn't come back to 100, but came back to like 85% or something. So, anyways, it was nice to have all of you here. It was cool to talk about radio and try signals and talk propagation. We'll be back on Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time. Stay safe and hope that you enjoy the show tonight. So take care, guys, and see you Saturday. And thanks for the tip for everybody that has sent a little tip today.